Hey gamers, it's Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire. In this video, we're going to review Ghosts of the Jungle. This is a solitaire war game, a book game by Mike Lambo. Alright, so here's Ghosts of the Jungle, and I've got everything I need to play right here. I've got this book, I've got a little transparency inside that I'm going to use to write on the maps because I've decided I like that best for filming for now. I have some dice. Nobody's going to roll more than 4 dice at a time, so 4d6 will do. And let's just kind of take a quick flip through and a little tour so that you would know what to do if you play it. So we open it up. It is a Mike Lambo game. He's got a list of all his other stuff, but there have been releases since I got this one. We've got a nice table of contents. Basically, the main thing to know is that there are 12 missions. So if you like this game, there are 12 different missions you can play, and a lot of them are quite replayable. They get harder as they go, so if you're just learning, play the early ones, and then kind of work your way late, is what I would say. Here you have a nice little introduction, how the book works. The recommendation is that you label each of these SAS. So we have Allen, Baker, Clark, and Dixon, A, B, C, D on your map, and then V is for Viet Cong. There is a guide to the terrain, how line of sight works, a description of all of the actions that you can take and how you can take them. Some more details, including examples of potential action combinations, and then a description of what the Viet Cong are supposed to do during their phase. There are also some campaign rules, a little bit of setup, and then once you actually turn into a mission, what I love about these games actually is that they remind you of the rules because you actually get the order of play and what the options are over on the left-hand side. So I can play over here and reference most rules over here on the left. So there's very little need to flip back and forth. That's something I just truly appreciate. These lay fairly flat. You might want to put a clip on either side. As you can see, I've got a little bit of shine from my light if I don't let it be all the way flat. But essentially what we do is, first we would do setup. So we take a die, and we're going to roll for where our SAS are going to go. So let's start with Allen. Allen will go on spot 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Baker, I got a 6, so he can go wherever I want to put him. Let's go ahead and put him with Allen. And I'll show you why in a moment. All right, we got a 1 for poor Clark over here, who's going to have to work his way over to where we are. And then a 2 for Dixon, so at least Clark isn't totally alone. We've also got 3 starting Viet Cong, and we're going to roll the dice for where they go. So there are little squares in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can actually roll to see where our Viet Cong are going to go. So we have a 4, so Viet Cong here. A 2, so there will be a Viet Cong right here. Oh! And then there's a 6, so this Viet Cong will be up here. So we're starting with 3, but there are plenty of ways to get more of them on the board. Then I'm just going to give you the quickest walkthrough of what happens. So basically, you take your SAS actions first, and we all start, by the way, with 3 condition. So we're at 3, 3, 3, and 3. So your condition affects how healthy your SAS are, and also how many actions they can take, like how many dice they can roll. So the more injured you get, the fewer things you can do, which just leads to a cascading problem. Basically, you can't win this game unless you complete your objective. And you also can't lose any of your men. So nobody can die. Everybody has to get to the objective. So when someone is gravely injured, you end up in a lot of trouble because sometimes they can just barely go anywhere. And there's no turn limit on this game. You play until you win or until you lose. But it can take a long time for somebody to limp from one side to the other if something really bad happens at the beginning of the game. Or you can lose altogether because they don't make it. So as it stands, everyone's going to roll 3 dice, and I can actually choose what order everyone's going to go in. So I might actually go with Baker first. Baker is going to roll extra dice. He gets to roll 4. And the reason for that is that he's with Sergeant Allen. Allen's a very inspirational sergeant. He can't inspire himself, but he can inspire everybody else to roll an extra die. So Baker can actually roll 4 dice. And we're going to get to do the stuff on here. So 1 is essentially useless in the game unless you roll a double 1. But over here we have a chart telling us what we can do. So for a 2, a 3, or a 4, we can move. On a 4, we can hide or unhide as well. So with a 4, you have a choice. Like you can't do both, but you can move or hide. 5 gives the option to shoot. So does a 6. 5 or 6 also give you a grenade option. So maybe you want to toss a grenade into an adjacent tile. But these are both loud and they bring more Viet Cong reinforcements onto the map. So maybe you don't want to do that. If you roll a double, you can tend to someone who's injured if you're on a building tile. So these are tiles with buildings. And hand-to-hand is also one of the options if you roll a double. If there's a Viet Cong in the same tile as you and you roll a double, then you can do hand-to-hand combat with them and do like a little silent takeout. But what you'll notice is that if you're not rolling what you need to roll, especially if you want one of those doubles, then you can't do those things. So you better hope that you're rolling enough dice and that you're, getting yourself enough odds to get what you actually want to happen in the game. So in this case, Baker doesn't have the best options, in my opinion, because it's not a great idea to shoot. There's no one to shoot from where he is. So really this 3 would be all that we did. He would just move. So we could take Baker out of this tile. So we can erase Baker here, and we can just move him up 1 here. If I had the ability, I would absolutely put him into hiding. So if I'd also rolled a 4, I could have moved up 1 and then put Baker in hiding. But alas, I cannot. So sadly, this double 5 was cool, but it was kind of wasted. The rest of these guys will have 3 conditions, and they would roll 3 dice, and I could do them in the order of my choosing. But basically the goal for this one is to get all 4 SAS on the tiles on the top row of the map that are unoccupied by Viet Cong. So we're all trying to get all the way across here and in with everybody up here away from these guys. So after our turn, what's going to happen? So let's just say that we did everybody's turn, even though these guys would have moved a bunch more if that were the case. The next step would be Viet Cong actions. So each Viet Cong rolls 2 dice, and then they perform their actions in order. The double comes first. So if I just rolled 2 dice for this Viet Cong, then I rolled a 1 and a 4. So for the 1, he would move 1 up. So he would go here. And then for the 4, he would move 1 left. And then I would just erase my tracks for where my Viet Cong had gone to keep a clean board. But essentially, these guys will move. Sometimes they'll shoot, and sometimes they'll hunt and look for you, depending on what the die rolls are. When they shoot, they do have to be able to see you, so that means you do have to think about line of sight. Basically, you can see from one tile into the next no matter what, unless somebody is hiding. But for example, this Viet Cong can't actually see us down here because there are too many tiles with blockages. If I were here, the Viet Cong could see me. But here, the Viet Cong can't look through this tile with blockage and then still see me. So that's basically how line of sight works. These bushes, these buildings do block the Viet Cong's ability to see you past one adjacent tile. The other thing you have to be concerned about is end of turn events. So at the end of every turn, you have to roll a die again. And then a 3 means that a Viet Cong truck comes through. And all unhidden SAS on a track tile, so this is a track tile with a track, would suffer -1 to their condition. They would get hurt. But there are other things that can happen. You can have a sniper. You can get some more reinforcements. Viet Cong can redeploy, so if they're getting a little far from you, they might come a little closer. Or if you get lucky and you roll a 5 or 6, all is quiet. As I mentioned previously, there are also a couple of other conditions under which you might add Viet Cong to your map. You will do it randomly each time, but essentially you can have an end-of-turn event, or if you end your activation on a clear tile, so a tile with absolutely no obstructions whatsoever, there's no bushes, there's no buildings, there's nothing. If I stop someone here, I'm going to trigger a reinforcement because somebody maybe spotted me moving in the wide open tile. And the other way to do that is to make noise by shooting or throwing a grenade. And that is basically it. In this game, you're trying to keep your condition high, you're trying to reach your objective, and you're rolling dice to figure out what you can do and making some choices. And then you're also rolling to see what the Viet Cong will do and then finding out your end of turn event. And that is the simple overview of Ghosts of the Jungle. So let's go for some final thoughts. All right, so now for some final thoughts. I really like this game. I previously reviewed Beaches for the Brave, which is another Mike Lambo book game here on the channel. And this is my second one that I've chosen to review. What I like about what Mike Lambo is doing is that he's creating these really simple dice games that still have a lot of variety and that are very challenging, because when the dice don't go your way, you're going to have a very rough time and then you're going to have to figure out what to do. So I just love the creativity that he's showing as a designer, working with very minimal materials and also coming up with new ways to roll dice and allocate actions. Because I would say in my experiences so far, I've got more Mike Lambo games ahead. A lot of his games are very much about rolling dice, dealing with the limitations that the results give you, and then making the best of it. And so if that's something that you don't like, especially because the actions that you can take are based on the dice that you roll. So if you need to attack someone, but you don't roll to shoot, you aren't going to be able to. If that's something that's really frustrating for you, then I think these games will frustrate you. If you like a little bit of roll of the dice and just trying to work the most that you possibly can out of dice that you roll, then I think you're going to really have a good time with this one. I loved his attempts to kind of make a stealth mechanism in such a simple little grid with some dice. I was personally really excited by that, and I liked trying to get my guys into cover. I liked being able to think about line of sight when it came to the Viet Cong. I liked the risk of taking a shot at someone, knowing that it was going to cause reinforcements to show up on the map, and the ability to tend to soldiers actually got really dire in situations where, because you lose the game if not everybody makes it out alive, you might have someone who's very injured and then just really struggle to get them to a place where you can do something about it, if you can at all. So I just thought that for such a simple game, there's a lot of tension in the gameplay. Yes, you're going to lose a lot, often because the dice are not in your favor. But for me, it was trying to make it work. That was the game, and I had a lot of fun with it, especially because there's so many maps in the book to play. Again, these are self-published books that are put on Amazon for $14.99, and you're getting what you pay for in terms of graphic design. And you're also going to have to provide your own dice and your own tokens if you want to make tokens, or your own pencil if you just want to write on the book. But at the same time, I think that these games are just good, clean fun at a good price. And while I think I liked Beaches for the Brave a bit better, Ghost of the Jungle definitely did not disappoint. And for the price, I think it's a great, just chill solo game to play a map out of every so often. I think a lot of us wargamers are busy, we get tired, but we still want to game. And on those nights, there's really nothing quite like one of these book games to help you with that, because there's so little setup and so little overhead. The game's played quickly, but you're still getting that feeling that you've played a war game. So I'm really enjoying this as my school year started back up, because I am slammed all the time with stuff for class and with extra work, and being able to still get a game in some way is amazing for me. So for that alone, thanks Mike Lambo for your service. These games, I don't want to like oversell them. They're very simple. They're very dicey, but they are good, clean fun. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, you should definitely check them out. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and most of all, happy gaming.